welcome back to another video. So going back to the writing theme for Preptober, we're going to be discussing how I plan for a story. Not just a NaNoWriMo story, but for a story in general. So there are two kinds of themes I've seen floating around lately when it comes to putting together a story. There's the pantser and the plotter. I was so confused when I heard the term pantser because I was thinking, do you expose your story first as you write it? That doesn't make sense to me personally, but no. Turns out, pantser is when you write by the seat of your pants, basically. You make up everything on the spot. You don't necessarily have a plan. You have an idea of where your story's going to go. So going back to the last video, so you've figured out your plot from your premise, but you haven't figured out how to write every single section of your story and figure out exactly where it's going to end. But then you have the plotters. So the people who are able to sit down and make a full-scale plan of everything that is going to happen, every single scene. They know exactly when the story's going to end. They have it all down. Personally, I like to consider myself a plotter because I do spend so much time thinking about how the story is going to be written that I often end up talking myself out of actually writing the story, just because I get so jumbled up in my own head that I just think, nope, it's fine. I don't need to deal with the stress. That's gotten better. That has gotten a lot better. But then the more I started to actually think about it, I am a pants plotter. So basically, my whole process when I get an idea and I figured out not just the premise, but the actual story I want to tell, first of all, I write everything down in my notebooks. The reason I have two at the moment, normally I just have the one, but this one is nearly done. So I don't want to start a whole NaNoWriMo process in about 10 pages left. So all NaNoWriMo stuff is being transferred at the moment from here to here, so I have it all in one place. Anyway, getting way off track. So normally I will write down plot, the characters, and my overall outline on paper first. So rather than be like, okay, I know exactly where the story is going to go, let's plan, I will write down a list of chapters, write a vague idea of what I want to happen, and just go with it. I don't know how many chapters there's going to be, I don't know exactly what little twists and turns are on the way. All I know is, this is the story, I have a vague idea of where it's going to go and what the characters are going to go through. I don't know what order, let's just see what my brain comes up with at the time. And I will just go for it in no real order, with massive bits crossed out of chapter 1, this might happen, chapter 2, these people might get introduced, chapter 3, adventure begins. And just go with it, and it might take me a couple of days to do that, and I will not let myself look over what I've already done. That does bring a risk of repeating myself, but that's where the review phrase comes along late. Honestly, I'm ashamed to admit it, but also not really, because I know there's more of you out there. Don't you dare try and lie to me. I will just pants it and create a vague outline of what I want to happen in a sort of order that I like, and then boom, I have the zero draft of my pants plan. After that, I'll leave it for a day or two just so I can reset my mind, and then I'll look over it again. Make a lot of, like I said before, a lot of notes of where things might go wrong, of things like full-on lines scribbled out, jumble things around. I can't do scene cards, that is way too much bits of paper and organisation and swapping around for me. So it is just rewriting it in my notebook again and again, crossing things out, massive arrows going, no, this is going to happen here, she's going to be introduced there, he might do this. It's a mess. I will admit my planning process is a complete mess, but there is some kind of logic to it. She lies. Yeah, pantser, I'm a complete pantser. I will pants the whole plot, and then at the end of it, I will look over it, see where it's gone, mix things around a little bit, add a few things, take away a few things, and I will do this for a good month of just going over the same plan again and again and again until I have something that makes sense to me, that I know where it's going to go, I know what kind of development we're going to be looking at, and we can finally get started. She lied again. So once I have an outline and a plan and I've turned my pantsing into a planning, from there I move it from my notebooks into my laptop. So that way, not just rewriting it, but also moving it from one form to another, it lets your mind slow down and actually take in so many more details, and you start to notice things you've missed, things that didn't quite make sense because you're in such a scribble rush, and you can see it all in one place yet again, and it seems just so much cleaner. I don't know, that's just the way my mind works, just that slowing down. Okay, let's move it from here over here, and let's take more time with this. Once it's all on the computer and I can see everything and I have a solid plan, so from there what I like to do is write out the first 2 chapters. Again, just it's not necessarily pantsing it this time because I've actually worked out a plan, so I know what's going to happen in this one. But again, it's a 0 draft, so I'm just going with it. I'm seeing what from my plan actually comes out in the first chapter or 2, and then just to mix things on its head, and then I will write the last chapter. I hate saying that because I hate it when they'll pick up a brand new book and they'll read the last chapter first just so they know where it's going to go in case they get bored. Are you a serial killer or something? I mean, one of my best friends does this and I tell her off every single time. I just don't get it. But when it comes to writing, that's what I do, and I hate myself for it so much. But I will write those first 2 chapters and then I'll write the last chapter just so I can see where it's going to go. I have a goal to aim for now, and it kind of makes the writing process a bit easier because I have an idea of what kind of development the characters need to go through. I need to see the goal. It just gives you more of like a tunnel vision of, right, okay, this is where we're going now. And it's kind of fun to look where these people are starting and to know where they're going to end up. But then when things change along the way, because we all know that writing is not a simple process, no matter what you do, your characters are going to go off and do their own thing. They are going to flip the story on its head, which means you have to do so many rewrites and more pantsing and then more planning and then putting them together, and nothing ever quite adds up the way it should, and God forbid you find the dreaded plot hole. So when you do go back to write chapter 2 or chapter 3 and then write straight through, and when you get to the last chapter and realise this is nothing like it's supposed to be, you get to rewrite a new ending, and some bits might stay the same, some bits might not, but that's part of the fun of it. And there are some people out there who are probably internally screaming at the idea of just winging it like that, but for me it just has that bit of fun and spontaneity, and don't get me wrong, it does bring about its fair share of writer's block and writing myself into a corner. I am not going to lie on that one, but I don't know, it just having the starting point, having the finishing point, and just see how many loop-the-loops and backtracks you go before you either end here or end up somewhere over there, and it's just fascinating for me. It's kind of like a character study, knowing where you want them to go, but then where your characters end up, and it just brings about the whole creativity, I guess. It just makes it more fun for me personally. I know there's some people out there who need to have every single detail down, and if anything strays from that plan, then the world may as well be burning around you, and I completely understand that because I am a complete stress head, and when things don't go the way they're supposed to, in this rubbish version of a plan that I've made, it can be really stressful and disheartening. But then once you realise this actually opens so many doors of where this story could go and what could happen in between, that sort of brings you back to the fun of it, I guess. I think you can't have an easy writing process. There is no such thing as an easy writing process. I've gone on a long tangent here, and I'm very sorry. My point being, I write the beginning, I write the end. If we end up at the end, then great. If not, then hey, we have a brand new adventure. So that's kind of what I've done with my NaNoWriMo novel for this year. This is an idea that I've had for a long time, and I did actually try to write it a fair few years ago. But then the more I was doing it, the more I realised I'm not writing a new story, I'm rewriting an old fan fiction that I did years ago. And although that was still really fun to write and probably one of my favourites projects that I worked on at the time, projects as if it was professional, I don't want to tell the same story. It has been flying around in my head and I finally pinned it down and made it into something new for me, and I'm happy with that. So I finally got the characters, I've gotten the plot, I've written down God knows how many pantsy plot, and finally it is going to be completed. It's a lot of work, guys, and this is just the way I do it. It is chaotic. I guess you could call me a chaotic good writer, as in not a good writer, because I'm not going to toot my own horn on that one, and really that's a matter of opinion. Anyway, chaotic good as in I really do go into this with the best intentions and to make things easier on myself, but it's done in the worst and weirdest way, and it is all over the place, and it does not help the anxiety at all. But at the end of the day, it does still get the job done, and I do tend to work faster and more efficiently under pressure, so that's just something that works for me. I am a pants plotter, I am a hybrid, and I am completely pretending to be okay with that. That is my pantsing versus plotting method for NaNoWriMo. Done my pantsy plotting. It's in a really decent order, she says semi-confidently, and it is all ready to go. For the record, the first and last chapter I will not be adding to my NaNoWriMo final word count because that would be cheating. So thanks again for watching. If you want to try out this nonsense idea of getting an outline together, then by all means go ahead. I am more than happy to receive your hate comments in the comments below. But until then, happy writing, guys, and I hope you have a great day. Bye!